I'm one of those guys who doesn't keep a plan B. I'm in a business where I ask other people's money. बेगानी शादी में अब्दुल्ला दीवाना, आपका पैसा लेके किसी और को देता हूँ. तो मैं 5,000 रुपए से शुरू किया था. अगर मैं 5,000 रुपए से आगे हूँ तो I'm still doing well. To stay on top, you have to be schizophrenic about failure. A very laudable goal to have a world without hunger, without poverty, without inequity.
When we talk about investing, we usually think of it in growth, scale, and evaluation terms. But there is another kind of investing, the one which focuses on people who are often overlooked, be it rural entrepreneurs, first-time founders, or ideas that are risky in nature. And in our today's episode, we have one of those people who chose this path despite all sorts of odds. Thank you so much, Vineet sir, for joining us. So,
Not yet, sir. So you can keep the sir off.
thank you so much, Vineet ji, for joining us. I want to first like to ask you this. I read somewhere that you started off your venture with just rupees 5,000 in your pocket. And this was back then when you were just 25. So how was it for a 25-year-old to come up with something like that, especially in that era?
So I was not 25, I was 29, I think. Okay. So, and 5,000 was in the bank actually. I just did not know I had 5,000. Just coincidence, I was young, India was 2001, so really there was nothing to bring about a change, and I felt that what was missing in changing the world, there were a lot of entrepreneurs had ambition, but there was no capital available that would allow these entrepreneurs to take the risk that was needed to change the world. And I asked many people, what is holding you back? And they all kept saying money. In my own capacity, I tried to convince my board to see if I can raise that money. And the board was not so interested in us going from incubation to capital allocation. And I was 29, too young to understand what I was getting into, and probably too naive. So it is out of just bravado that I quit my job. And once I quit my job, I'm one of those guys who doesn't keep a plan B. Right. So I only work on plan A. And so I had no choice to run away.
Also, I was reading somewhere that groundbreaking innovations happen when the source of your creation is coming from inspiration and not desperation. Like the source has to be inspirational and not come from a feeling of desperation. So do you believe in this philosophy, or do you have a different take on life?
So I think there is far more behind these two words. So desperation comes out of fear. Fear that you are sinking. So जैसे डूबते को तिनके का सहारा होता है ना, so then you start flailing and then you sink fast. Inspiration is when you are unaware, you don't know how to swim, but you are confident, you have a chance to reach the other coast. So I think, well, if I go back to when I was 29-year-old, I didn't have any fear, and that probably kept me going. I lived in the present. I did not dwell too much on what the future holds for me. And I did not think about what will happen to me or my family 1 year down the line, 2 years down the line. I used to get up every morning and did everything that was in my capability till the evening. And then I used to sleep peacefully and get up again and do it. So two things worked probably more than inspiration, being very convinced that I am the right guy. Which is not the brightest thing to do, I'll tell you again. And second, having a never say die attitude. And the third thing which probably worked for me significantly was, while I always used to think long term, but I was very focused on doing my activity on a daily basis. So I was not just sitting there and wondering what will happen.
And is it safe to say that somewhere when you don't have materialistic intent before doing something, then automatically things fall into places and you do it in a much more passionate way?
I personally believe slightly different, something different. I may or may not have the materialistic instinct, but I believe a little bit of greed is good, little bit. And therefore it's not called greed, because anything that is little is not greed. But so the word I'm using little is just to say that motivation to earn something which is very private is very critical and important for you to be successful. It could actually be for yourself, or it could be for society or for somebody, but a little bit of greed is good. Anyway, greed is not good because it basically wants everything for yourself. So that's the distinction. A little bit is important because that's where your desire. But if you start putting goals that मेरे को 5 साल के अंदर एक गाड़ी खरीदनी है, ये खरीदना है, then you start actually stumbling. So in that sense, materialistic goal that I need to have a house, or I should become, my net worth should be $1 million. If you put those kinds of goals, then you can't work on a vision. I was trying to transform or take capital to rural India to help entrepreneurs start up. Now, none of my personal goals were actually part of this. So whether I had a house or no house, whether I'm living in a rented house, etc., would have all created massive obstacles in my path. And I'm actually a little bit of Arjun and Chidiya ki aankh. So what was the goal? I only focused on that.
And talking about your childhood, I think you're from Varanasi and you've also spent most of your childhood in parts of Rajasthan. So how were you as a kid? Were you ambitious back then as well?
I was, I am mediocrity personified. So I'm mediocre in everything. Mediocre, tall, not short, not fat, not thin, not the best in class, not the worst in class, not the best in sports, not the worst in sports. So I was a happy-go-lucky guy. Was good at everything. I wanted to be the best, but I also knew my constraints that I'm not the best. So I excelled. I became the best sports person amongst those who were best in studies, and I was the best in studies amongst those who excelled in sports. So I found my way of being the best. And in that sense, and later on, much later, I decided to call that my entrepreneurship definition, to identify your limitations and then excel within those limitations. So that's who I am. I didn't see myself as an entrepreneur. I didn't see myself as a leader, but when opportunity arose or when a challenge came, I naturally probably came forward. So that probably is what leadership is over time.
And I think when you were young, you wanted to join army.
Yeah.
So where did that thought come from?
I was in a school called St. Anthony's in Jodhpur, and the school actually was next to a railway line. And this railway line takes troops from tanks, armored cars, etc., from various places. So I used to just sit next to the window and look out, and I was very fascinated, and I wanted to join army. So that's where it came. Other thing is Jodhpur is being a border town.
Right.
In any case, a lot of your friends are from Army, Air Force, Navy, so you keep hearing stories. So the only ambition and only life ambition was to join Army.
And I think you've also been very candid about being rejected in the first 4 attempts of applying to Army. What would you suggest youngsters out there who face rejection on a daily basis, and how do you handle rejection or criticism?
So first, we all hate rejection. I wanted to get through in the first attempt, then second attempt, and every time it was heartbreaking. But you have to learn to deal with heartbreak. So I think that's part and parcel of growing up. You have to have a strong mind. You have to feel very bad when you lose it, but then you should have the resilience to bounce back when you. And if you don't have the resilience, in any case, you won't succeed in life. The other thing that most probably is true, which I learned over time, is when you fail, every failure is a success, the next stair for success. So if you see failure as a step forward towards the next big success, then you have a positive mindset. If you look at failure and say that this is the end of the world, then that's a very negative mind. So I was very resilient. I would take it very personally and then come out of it very quickly as well.
And did that resilience come from within you, or were there external forces that kept you motivated towards
No, I think
moving
it was
forward?
instinct. As my wife says, I'm one of those guys who can find a silver lining in the darkest of clouds. So that's how my instinct is. I do not look for things that will go wrong. Because I know in today's world, today's days, and when I was there are 1,000 reasons why you will fail. But our job is to find that one reason that will make us succeed. So I always focus on that one reason that will make me succeed. And genuinely convinced myself to believe in it. And rest is history. So.
And still, I would want to know if you ever had phases of self-doubt. I think all of us go through that. And especially with people who have seen a lot of transitions in their life. Have you ever had phases of maybe doubting yourself, not being sure of your identity, or maybe sometimes having some sort of an identity crisis?
So again, there are two ways to answer this. One is you are always unsure. You are born. Why are you born? Why are you living? Why are you doing what you are doing? That actually is that unsurety is always there. You come from a middle class family. You will always feel out of depth in a rich setting. You've never seen money. Then you're going and asking
Right.
people for money. You are a forester who has no real credential to ask for somebody's money. You are getting into a finance domain. I have seen people, they asked me, where do you live? And then when they came to know that I live in maybe Borivali, Kanivali or somewhere, won't shake hands. But will that impact you? Never bothered me actually, frankly. I always knew I'm an outsider. So I just accepted my outsiderness and I enjoyed it. So for example, I never dressed like a finance guy. I wore whatever I felt like. I wore a kurta when I felt like, and when people started identifying me with a kurta, then I started wearing something else. So I made sure that I do not get stuck in a thought process, in a mindset, nor people's expectations, nor my own expectations. And maybe some people say that is a strength of mind, but I am actually quite comfortable in my own skin, and it doesn't bother me what others think about me. And I give them all the right to have an opinion of me, because we all have opinions, and you will be judged if you are trying to do something which is not normal. So people will actually look at you and say, I don't think so, this guy will succeed. And every time somebody said, this guy will not succeed, I was even more determined to succeed. So that becomes your ego booster actually.
Do you think it's also because you have a supporting, like people who are, around you, who are some sort of a support system for you? Do you think, does that help?
Of course, I mean, this is, no story is a story of an individual. So your father, your mother, your sister, if you have a brother, your extended family, then your wife, your kids, they all have a significant part in who you become. So in my case, my mother was the person with intellectual capability. So whatever we gained was from my mother's intellectual capability. But my father gave me the complete, absolute happiness. My father was always happy.
So you had a secure childhood.
Yeah, reasonably secure childhood with all kinds of stresses that go through in any middle class families. Kabhi paisa hai, kabhi nahi hai, kabhi wo. But reasonably secure compared to, I was never poor. I never came from a poor family. So my father was a class 1 gazetted officer. He had his own challenges. But he was a very happy guy. And my mother was a housewife, but a very determined and hardworking housewife. I had a sister who was 1 year or 2 years older than me. So in that sense, nothing to say that I was studying under a lamppost. But then I got married, I was in a forest and I was very happy there. So I am in this space because my wife told me, wife or forest or job. So to keep the wife, I looked for this thing. And then when I actually quit my job, when we were reasonably comfortable to actually plunge the young family into serious distress, She was the one who said, do what you feel like. I'm sure you'll find your way. Now, I asked her, was it an intelligent statement to make? And she said, I was convinced that you will find your way. And so 98% of the credit of what I have done actually goes to my wife, Swati, who also is from the same institute. So.
That's beautiful. I'm glad that we still have men who acknowledge their wife's contribution.
And if she would have said no, I would have actually still been doing something what I was doing.
So I'm sure you must have had phases wherein you must have felt restricted when it comes to the progress. And this is from work perspective I'm asking. So how do you make sure that you are moving forward continuously, especially when you're feeling stagnant professionally?
So again, it's also mindset. So you can feel stagnant when you're progressing very fast also, because any progress is a relative thing. So अगर आप 100 किलोमीटर की स्पीड से चल रहे हैं और आपकी इच्छा 150 की स्पीड से है तो 100 किलोमीटर भी स्लो है. My simple mechanism to deal with it is to go back where I started. So मैं 5,000 रुपए से शुरू किया था. अगर मैं 5,000 रुपए से आगे हूँ तो I'm still doing well. And what it does is it actually brings you to where you are today and to deal with your surrounding. I think major mistakes happen when you become a visionary. And this is a problem with all people who can dream big. A lot of failures happen when you start living your vision. You have to live in your present and keep the vision a dream. So when you start living in the dream, then no reality will happen. So you have to live in the present and keep the vision as a dream. And that distinction, if people can understand, that vision is a dream, and when you wake up, you have to do the mundane to get the dream. So you cannot live a dream life. The reality is going to be harsh. People will judge you, insult you. You will face failure. I'm in a business where I ask other people's money. Begani shadi mein Abdullah Diwana. आपका पैसा लेके किसी और को देता हूँ. So then anybody can ask me, मैं उसको दे दूँगा ना, आप कौन हो देने वाले? Why should you take my money? And that is a very tough one. I mean, how do you convince somebody to give their money to you for you to give this money to somebody else? So a rejection is a very natural consequence of my ask itself. So every person I ask money, they will say no. So I used to get surprised when somebody used to say yes, because I was so convinced that they will say no. And that also brought the threshold of resistance down. So I was not walking into a meeting saying, hey, this guy is searching for me, he's waiting for me with a check. That was never the case. I actually walked into the meeting expecting them to throw me out. And then was pleasantly surprised if somebody gave me the money.
And does that also mean that one should enjoy the process of reaching somewhere, wherever we want to? So that also eases
I think it is, for the dream, you have to be a dreamer.
Right.
So when you are dreaming, you have to dream the biggest, the largest, the farthest. When you are on the ground, then you have to be an average Joe. Ready to do all what is needed so that you can walk on the path of your dream.
And one should embrace both the phases, and the mindset should be similar.
Else you will be a failure irrespective.
Absolutely.
So,
and since you deal with so many people on an everyday basis, what is that one thing that you have learned from these people that you come across through your business, through the kind of work that you do?
Well, I think resilience, one. People are very resilient. All entrepreneurs are very resilient. I think I have also learned humility. You can be made to feel like a fool at any given moment, because something you believed cannot be done, some child, some young boy will come and prove to you that what you thought was wrong. So being humble in knowing that you don't know, that's another thing. These two things I think keeps reinforcing on a daily basis. Every day I find that what you think you can do, somebody can do better than you. Who I heard saying that to stay on top, you have to be schizophrenic about failure. I actually do have the same thought process, though I borrow the word from him. I genuinely believe in that. If you have to be successful, but that statement
that was going to be my next question, if you are an admirer of SRK.
I'm a Dharmendra, Sunny Deol family fan. But that statement was very apt actually.
Right. If I may ask you, do you think you are a patient person, or you have gained the understanding of patience in the last few years of your tenure in
I
this business?
use patience as a tool.
Right.
But you have to be patient, and then at times you have to be impatient with your patience. So you just need to know when you need to be impatient and when you need to use patience as a tool. My natural instinct is I'm an extremely impulsive, impatient person. But I have learned over a period of time when not to act, when not to react, when not to say anything, when to avoid getting into a position where you need to. I mean, sometimes impatience actually bring you disaster, and sometimes patience bring you disaster. So you just need to make your choices.
And have you reached this point after, making some sort of a wrong decisions, like how most of us do, especially when we are young? Or has it always been clear to you when it comes to how to approach people or how to approach life in general?
I did not know anything, frankly. So every decision I made was 50-50.
Right.
What I was thinking was right or wrong, I had no idea. If I go back and look myself in 24 years, next year is 25. So when I started, every decision has been a binary. So we did not know whether we are right or wrong, and I still do not know. I have said no to money, which was significant, and I have said yes to insignificant things. I have done things which my mind forced me to think and chase. I have trusted people because I wanted to trust them. But I always respected evidence. If the evidence is to the contrary, I always took that into account. So my instinct, I wanted to follow my instinct, but I always respected evidence. And therefore, I found balance.
And you also have a set of value systems that drive you.
Yeah, value system. So we have a whole statement outside which talks about our value system. But I think it's very simple. I genuinely believe you have to be very transparent. I also believe that if you're hiding something, that means you're being dishonest. So you have to be transparent. You should be open. You should be able to accept. If you have done something wrong, you should have the courage to face it. Those are some of the value systems. Of course, egalitarian, I believe everybody is equal. So there are many things that can make you a revolutionary. But I have kept my instincts tame. I hate corruption. So, but not being corrupt, using corruption as a tool to speed up the process. So
Do you think there is a good and bad kind of corruption out
no,
there?
corruption is corruption, but if you somebody asking you money is corruption,
Yes,
but you paying is also corruption. So what I can't stop somebody from asking me, but participating and paying is something I have abhorred to the extent I can. And personally, wherever it has come between me and that aspect of paying, I have never allowed anything, any moment. So I have not paid for a sleeper berth, traveled from Delhi to Bangalore standing because I didn't want to pay 35 rupees. So I have kept that, but some are personal values, some are institutional values. But I think we are all let me put it this way, we would like to be uncompromising when it comes to basic ethics, morality, etc. That is what I believe in. That's what I want the institution to believe in. And I'm hopeful that we have not done anything wrong. We have systems, processes that actually make sure that there is zero liberty towards going and doing something which is wrong.
And since we were also, we were talking about taking wrong decisions in life, especially when we are young and we are naive and we don't have that level of understanding about life. When you look back, do you have any sort of a guilt or maybe some sort of regret that keeps following you, or you have acknowledged whatever decisions you've made so far?
No, so the only thing you should have guilt or feel bad about is if you make the same kind of decisions twice. That means making the same mistake twice. You have a right to keep making new mistakes, but you don't have a right to keep repeating mistakes. So I don't remember repeating mistakes. I have made lots of mistakes, but I always note down, this is wrong. next time when a situation comes, I shouldn't be doing this
So
mistake.
you don't have patterns of mistakes.
Yeah, patterns of mistake are serious ones. So once you start making a pattern of mistakes, then there is a problem in your mind. So you'll have to deal with your mind. Then.
And so, how would you define meaning to life beyond being productive? Do you think there is something beyond being productive and people should maybe come up with new definitions to give meaning to our life?
I think every person has a meaning to life, and every person has a right to define what means to them. To some, it is family. To some, it is country. To some, their job. To some of them, culture, religion. I don't think anybody has a right to dictate or preach to somebody what their life purpose should be or life meaning should be. I don't think so. There is any human being who doesn't have a purpose or meaning in life. So.
And who are you as a person without the kind of titles you hold or the public image that you have? If one needs to define you, then how would you want to get defined apart from the work that you do?
I don't want to be defined at all. That's why I said no, sir, nothing. Because I am a fairly happy-go-lucky, easygoing person. I live in the present. I don't have much expectations from life. I want to be seen as a happy, healthy, and I have a childlike curiosity which I continue to retain. So I'm very curious about something. I'll go and chase it down till I am satisfied. It could be anything as silly as walking up to a wild boar
Yes.
and trying to photograph them from very close.
I was going to ask you if you're still passionate about wildlife.
I used to live in a forest, so
Yes.
I feel quite comfortable and natural either in a forest or in a village. So it doesn't bother me. I am quite okay. Go without food for 3 days, that's also fine with me. Till the time there is some adrenaline, some excitement.
And is there something that you are still trying to make peace with in life?
I am actually always at peace. I was always at peace when I was 29. I was at peace when I was 20. As I said, I live in present. I don't bother too much about the future.
And before we let you go, just one last question. How do you look at purpose economy in today's time, especially purpose economies intersecting with social impact sector and new businesses coming up like yours?
In 2015, the leaders of the world came together to define what they called Sustainable Development Goals, which I think is a fairly respectable, very laudable goal to have a world without hunger, without poverty, without inequity. I think to have every child a full belly, every child to go to school, and every family to have a house is a very, very important ambition for the society to have. So, to me, I think a purpose economy that achieves that is the real economy. Now, what is that economy? There is a philanthropy side of it, there is actually an investing side of it, there is actually general economy, per capita GDP. My current passion right now is to how do you pull up Eastern UP, which is Purvanchal, 21 to 25 districts, 8 crore people living and per capita of around 50,000 or below. How do you actually take that per capita GDP to maybe a 2 lakh rupees, India's average, so that India can move from 2 lakh to 10 lakh. And I believe entrepreneurship, creating jobs, livelihoods in that region would be a great point of view to bring about change. It's an area I come from. My father actually challenged me that can you do something really path-breaking in Eastern UP? So that's what I'm trying to do. That's my purpose, but and the purpose is to create an economic activity that is entrepreneurial and challenging. Now, we are not the government, we don't have the potential or the capability, but we have a desire and we will chase that desire through the ultimate time, till the time I have energy. So.
All right. Thank you so much, sir, for having this conversation with us. And before we let you go, we want you to sign our book of purpose and also share a message with us.